Welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ballplayer podcast, sponsored by Netting Professionals. Netting Professionals are improving programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals specialize in design, fabrication, installation of custom nettings for backstops, batting cages, dugouts, scoreboards, BB screens, and ball carts. They also design and install digital graphic wall padding, windscreen, turf protectors, dugout benches, dugout cubbies, and more. Netting pros that continue to provide quality products and services to many recreation, high school, and college fields, facilities, and stadiums throughout the country. Contact Netting Pros at 844-620-2707 or info@nettingpros.com. Visit them online at nettingpros.com or check out Netting Pros on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for all the latest products and projects. So on today's episode, we get a chance to talk to Justin Hanley. Justin Hanley is the head coach of very prestigious William Penn Charter High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Coach Hanley has been with Penn Charter since 2012. At that time, he was the associate head coach and pitching coach from 2012 to 2017. During that time, they won 2 Inter-AC championships in 2014 and 2017. And since he's been the head coach, they have won the Inter-AC in 2021. During his time at Penn Charter, they've had 4 players that have gone on to play pro baseball from William Penn Charter, among several others that he's been able to coach at the college ranks and help guide the recruiting process and help guide them and get them placed into college baseball, either between Penn Charter or his time in travel baseball. He is the former director of operations and player development at Elite Sports Factory. As well, he is the North American baseball account executive for Silicon Valley FinTech startup Pando, which we talk about, but uses predictive analytics to help professional baseball players mitigate their career risk. It helps them as they go through their process of being professional ball players. And so, really cool, interesting job that he does along with his head coaching responsibilities. Not your normal teacher and coach. He's actually in helping professional baseball players, even on the analytics side, and a way for them to analyze their risks as baseball players. So we dive into a lot more of that, and it's really, really interesting, and we talk about that and how that impacts his program and how he his coaching decisions with analytics and how his brain kind of works with that, and really good. I mean, Coach Hanley and I have just been able to, through some players, and get a chance to know each other, and with him travel baseball and with him coaching, and we have a good relationship, and it's I got a chance to see them play up there. It's just an unbelievable school, very prestigious school. Gets these guys to play as a family. Gets these guys to have play at such a high level, and it's really great to see. A really great coach. Had a great conversation. I just love all the different things that we to talk about, from recruiting, different culture, just some great perspective, like I said, just about his profession and the business side. Like he's in the business as well as in how he relates that into coaching and things like that. So it's certainly a great perspective. Really enjoyed the conversation. Really appreciate it, Coach Hanley, and thank you guys all for supporting it. Really think you're going to love it. Head coach at William Penn Charter, Coach Justin Hanley.
Stumbled upon this company, Pando, out of Silicon Valley, that it's a fintech company, but works in baseball. So I reach out, and just the more research I did, I had reached out. I'm like, how do I be a part of this? So, just the backstory there, the 2 co-founders, they were former data guys, but they met at Stanford Business School getting their MBAs, and they were putting together, game theory models around career volatility, and, coming away with like, what are the most volatile career paths? Because they're noticing that people were, going into these winner-take-all career paths with really no safety net, and so they're like, we need to study this a little more. So they came away with probably the 2 most volatile career paths you could pick are, being an entrepreneur, starting your own company, and professional baseball players. Because there's so much downside risk and so many things outside of your control that can dictate your future, whether it be injury or draft politics, team politics, whatever it is. So they're like, we need to build, a company around this. And so the financial product they came up with is called income pooling. So, half the company does entrepreneurship and founders pools, and they even have MBA pools, but the other half does professional baseball players. So I run the North American player side. I have a colleague who does the Latin American side. So what they do is, we use our data science team and our models and our algorithms to, assign a value to a player, and then we can reach out to these players and use that data to, group them together into what's called a pool. And when you join a pool, you're committing to put in 10% of your future earnings, right, into this pool. And if you make it and you sign a big post-arbitration deal, you put in 10% and it gets distributed amongst the group, because as you know, the odds for anybody to break into the major leagues is already slim enough. So it's basically you're spreading out your career risk. And, if I eat, you eat, right? So it's awesome. So I've been here about 7 months, and, we have about 80 pools total. We have over 6% of all professional baseball players, minor leagues all the way up to major leagues. So it's wild, man. And it just it allows players to take more of like a, a risk adjusted approach to their career. And it gives them that safety net, if you will.
And so when you're looking, how have you used that, especially with their analytics and stuff like that, within your own system of maybe evaluating players, your own players?
My players?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, coaching at the high school prep level. It's, I do have to remind myself that, these are kids, but, you do see, where the game is going is, analytics driven. And, so obviously we use, all the game changer reports and all the Rapsodo data and all that to help guide, playing time decisions. But so it has kind of changed how I look at things a little bit. But at the end of the day, we're fortunately enough, because we're allowed to recruit, we have high level players, and especially the teams in our league, we can kind of run it more of like a college program where, from a pitch design standpoint or helping, catchers like Kyle, call a game. We rely heavily on the data and analytics, but at the same time, you got to have a feel for it. And so I kind of find that middle ground, because, they are kids, and, I want them to embrace mistakes as they play, as opposed to me just turning them into a robot and, doing what I tell them. So, it's hard. You got to strike that fine balance there.
Have you always had an interest in the analytics?
Yeah, I'd say so. And that was kind of, I got into coaching 11, 12 years ago. Never thought I'd be a coach. And so, working in finance, and was approached by the then head coach at Penn Charter. And, so having that analytical background and kind of taking me over to the baseball side, and me being a former pitcher, and nowadays, pitching is all 100% analytics. So, I put a strong emphasis on, especially when it comes to our decision making as a coaching staff. We like to lean heavily on the data and the stats and all that.
Is there anything that when you think analytics, something that is kind of what tells the best story?
Yeah, I think and I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said, but like win-loss record and even ERA now are kind of going out the window, and you're focusing on stats like WHIP or K through 9 or K to walk ratio, and then on the offensive side, we look at the quality at bat percentage, and are you hitting the ball hard? How often are you hitting the ball hard? And so leaning on those kind of stats, that helps us a lot.
Do you just rely on the game changer to do that, or do you actually have specific quality bats or different things that you do as a charting or?
Yeah, a little bit. Game changer is great, but it's limited in what it can offer, and again, probably us. We might not be fully utilizing it to its potential. So we do some charting on the side, especially on putting together opponent hitting charts, or even for our pitchers. We'll track their bullpens. And then in game, we'll track, for me personally, I think I'm one of the few high school coaches that I don't call a game, and my pitching coach who, had a 10-year professional career as a pitcher. He doesn't want to call a game. We want our catchers like Kyle to learn how to do that. And, for them to do that, they have to make, do it on their own, make mistakes, and we'll coach it in between innings and say, hey, in this situation, you may have wanted to call that pitch. But, that's more of like on the teaching side. But, from, pitch selection, we rely heavily on our kids to do that. But then, like I said, the coaching is kind of done, in between innings, after games, practices. And then that's when we'll kind of bring the data side into it. And even, preparing for games, we have a chart on an opposing hitter. We'll work with our catchers and pitchers and say, hey, here's the plan for tomorrow. Let's attack this lineup 1 through 4 this way. And, but at the end of the day, we rely heavily on our catcher to make those calls. And because I think that's the way he's going to learn.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I like what you said too, like we'll coach it up in between the innings. They kind of take that time to coach it up there in between.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that. I forget, so my predecessor, he brought me into Penn Charter and he coached a little bit, and, we got into the travel ball world a little bit, but now he's a Division I head coach now. And, he kind of planted that in my brain, back in the day. Like I was coaching third base, when I first started, and I'm yelling out like mechanical shit to a kid, like, hey, square it up, stay middle, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, there's nothing you're going to yell to him from the third base coach's box that is going to put him in the right mindset. Be positive, hit keep it simple, but be positive. Hit the ball hard, find a gap, like don't yell out mechanical shit, because he probably got mom or dad yelling the same shit to him. So it's, you want to be that voice of positive encouragement. So, when you come to see us play, that's pretty much all yell from the third base box. But, being the former pitcher, when I'm looking at it, one of our guys, throwing, that's when I'll get a little more, mechanical and, in my feedback. But yeah, for the most part, I try to keep it simple.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, like I love the quote of like, stop yelling at kids when they're trying to make decisions.
Right. Like, and I find myself like I said earlier, like I have to remind myself that these are kids. And when I think back, and by the way, they're way more mature at 15 to 18 than I was. Like, so I remind myself, like, if I was 17 again and I had, mom, dad, teammates, coaches yelling out mechanical shit to me while I'm trying to hit a baseball, no way.
Oh man. So like how else? Like, I mean, just with your background and coming in, so like, most of the guys that we talk to, teachers or like coming through that, like, but with your background and more the business side of things, like how has that how has that experience really kind of developed you into running one of the very successful programs like just in William Penn?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to looking at, like putting a portfolio together or whatever it is, putting, looking at potential, startup companies, and you're looking at like the management team and kind of, rolling up your sleeves and drilling down to really kind of, cut through all the BS of a business plan. And I think you can apply that to putting a team together, right? I like to build through the middle, have a strong leader at catcher, middle infield and center field. And obviously, being a former pitcher, I love pitching, and especially in our league, pitching wins. But, using that kind of analytical approach to, recruiting and and from a due diligence standpoint, the first thing, when I hear about a player, with good relationships with a lot of little leagues, and if a coach says, hey, you got to come take a look at this kid, I'll say it's not unlike a college coach where, tell me about mom and dad. Tell me about what kind of grades does he get? What does he play in any other sports? If not, why not? So, just I think taking that analytical and like that due diligence mindset when approaching a family about, bringing a kid into a fine private school like Penn Charter, it's, that's kind of the approach that I take.
Yeah. And I like you said, there's such the entrepreneurship mindset goes hand in hand with, I think, running a program.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially at a school like ours where, these kids, they're pushed academically, like from 7:30 a.m. till 3 p.m. Right. And I make the joke, like, I didn't go there. I wish I did. I'm a public school kid, right? And I make the joke, like, every graduating class, like, one of you guys might be my boss someday. They're super driven, super, intelligent kids. But at the same time, it's, they are kids, and, to be able to get them on that right path and then prepare them for the college level, not only just baseball, but prepare them for college life. We're big on self-advocacy. We want kids to, we tell them, mom and dad are not going to write an email to a college coach. And if they do, that coach is not going to read it. And if they do, they're not going to care. Right. So, I tell kids, I don't rule with an iron fist. Like, if you're unhappy with your at-bats or your innings, you come talk to us, and we'll give you feedback, constructive feedback, but you might not like the answers, but it's going to be what you need to hear in order to get better. And we do that because, when they get to the college level and they're playing for coaches whose livelihoods depend on wins and losses, they're going to need to be able to stand up for themselves and have, really good conversations with the coaches as far as their development, their playing career path and all that. So, we try to start that early for them, and it's not always the smoothest process, but for the most part, kids, they buy in and the families buy in. And I just think that helps, build our team culture and give it that community feel that we're trying to encapsulate.
It's like, so you talked about the community feel and like going into little leagues and stuff. Like, do you feel like, is that will you hold events, or like, what do you do in order to kind of bring that community?
We do one summer or 1 week of summer camp at school. And, that's great. It's a good opportunity for kids to get on campus, see the school, see the field, which, you saw, it's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's just kind of relying on our relationships with Little League coaches, travel ball coaches, and, calling around saying, hey, you have any, academically driven kids who are good baseball players. If there's a position of need, we'll reach out and say, hey, you have a catcher. We're graduating too. So, but they're still at that time. It's, they're 12, 13-year-old kids. So it's tough. So that's why, you want to dig in to see about their character, see about their family, the work ethic, because you could agree. I mean, some of the best baseball players that I played Little League with didn't even play in high school. Right. No. So it's hard to project, especially in baseball. Like, maybe football, if there's a lineman and the kid's 6 foot at 12, or basketball, whatever, baseball's tough. So you really have to, look at the other stuff, the makeup, how seriously does he take his academics, or does he play an instrument? What kind of student is he? What kind of teammate is he? That's a big one. So, we rely on that stuff as opposed to just trying to project the kid as a player.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, like, thinking that you're a high school coach. You know what I mean? Like, and as much as you talk about recruiting and the projection and how you're dealing with all that, like, it's pretty interesting, man. Those are conversations that typically I'm having with college guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I feel kind of icky saying it because, there are Saturdays in the fall where me and my coaches we're going to a 12, 13U event, and just to see a player and meet his family and talk to them. But like I said, it's hard to project at that age anyway. So, but if, like I said, it being a highly prestigious private school, whether the baseball career pans out with us or at the college level, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're going to be able to make a life-changing decision by going to a private school like one of ours. So, it's tough, because it's hard to project.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was going to dive into, like, you mentioned about your culture, and you're trying to you said about building self-advocacy.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, different values of, like you said, self-advocacy was big, but, like, how have you built your culture at William Penn?
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with, good communication amongst, the myself to the players, and then, them to their parents. And that's the biggest thing. We tell parents at the beginning of the year that, we don't talk playing time, with parents. If your son is unhappy with his playing time, it's his duty to come to us. And like I said, we have an open door. We'll sit down and talk with the kid, because we want that. We want them to be able to feel comfortable coming to us and having that dialogue. And like I said, they might not be happy with the feedback we give them, but it's feedback that they need to hear in order to help with their development. So, and we tell them, listen, if your son doesn't properly relay that information to you, or if you feel as though your son has been disrespected, then we'll have a meeting, right? But it never gets to that point. But kind of establishing that early, it one helps keep the parents at bay and sets expectations for them. But it also, they take that feedback and they're encouraged by that. Where okay, my son is going to have to grow up a little faster than normal here. He's going to have to stick up for himself. And it being a competitive program where, there's only 9 spots on the field. So, and our best 9 are going to get out there. And so that leads us to our kind of our second pillar where, we tell kids right away, I don't care what grade you're in. We're not an all boys school where we're bringing in 50, 60 new boys every spring for tryouts. It's, we get to recruit and, for instance, for next year's fall class, there's 32 open spots for 9th grade. So that's girls and boys. I want players, girls basketball wants players, football, whatever. So if we get in 2 or 3 kids for a freshman class, that's a good year.
Wow.
So with that, we tell freshmen, I don't care that you're a freshman. I want you to punch above your weight class. And if you can play as a freshman, you're going to play. And we've had that, like you've seen that, with Kyle, he's a kid that came in and he won that starting catching job as a freshman and hasn't looked back. And, that kind of at the same time forced him to grow up a little bit. Some of the kids he came in with, he's a little further along maturity wise than other 9th graders. Right. So, we tell them like some programs, you might not step foot on that varsity field till your 11th, 12th grade year. But here, if you can play, show us you can play, go beat out a senior. I don't care. You're going to get out there if you show us that you have what it takes. And then the biggest thing is just kind of accountability, not only, with thyself, but just keeping your teammates accountable, making sure that they know. We kind of give real life examples and we tell them, listen, you might not like each other. You might hate each other for all we know. But, once you step between these lines, you have to respect each other because we're here for a common goal. We're here to win. We're here to get to that next level. And, the kids love that. And at the same time, they hold themselves accountable, hold their teammates accountable if they're not kind of playing up to, our expectations. So you're just kind of having those, those pillars of our philosophy, just kind of reminding them of that. That's kind of helped, get us to where we are. And it's, other programs do things other ways, not saying what we do is right or wrong, but it just kind of works for us to help get that message across to the kids.
How often, are you going through these messages? How often do you bring this? Is this like a daily thing? Do you have classes? How do you do that?
It comes up, like just weekly reminders, and listen, they're kids, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to, miss a practice or, be late to the team bus. I expect that, that they're kids. And when situations like that happen, we're big on helping, instill leadership amongst not just our captains, but everybody. But if there's a situation where a kid acts out of line or does something stupid and doesn't represent our program or their family the way they should, we'll rely on our captains, our leaders, say, hey, this is a problem that if, we need to handle this internally, it's up to you guys, and they take that seriously and they can nip any problem in the bud. And we as coaches, we love to see that, their conflict resolution, leadership skills, you can see that maturity process, kind of, instilling that within them. So, that's kind of how we do things. Again, not saying it's right or wrong, but it works for us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just was wondering, like with the self-advocacy and, the sense of urgency that you're creating with the, not caring, what grade you are. If you can play, you're going to play.
Yeah.
How hard? I was thinking, how hard, how tough has it been? Like some tough decisions you've been for a senior who might not have been performing up to your standard.
Yeah, that's always the toughest because, these are kids that you develop relationships with and they're all phenomenal kids. So, when you have a senior who is struggling, performance wise on the field, it's tough, but, they know that at the next level, they're going to be facing the same uphill battle where, their leash is going to be even shorter at the college level. But at the same time, we want to, we never want to discourage a kid, because there are times where I've definitely been too hard on a kid, and you can almost see that confidence evaporate. And, that's when I got to go back. But listen, I was, wrong in my message and my delivery of the message, but, we have the utmost confidence in you. And if you don't have confidence in yourself, how can we as coaches have confidence to get you out there on the field? So, it's always tough. And every season we go through with it, with a senior who is either underperforming or whatever, and we just remind ourselves, these are kids. They have lives. They have girlfriends. They have, home issues, whatever it is, just like everybody else. So just kind of getting them, in a good headspace, we think it's going to help translate to the batter's box or the pitcher's mound. So, and as you know, being part coach, you're part therapist, you're part, mom, you're part dad, you're part brother, whatever it is, you wear many hats as a coach. So, but yeah, it's, with those upperclassmen, it's, we rely heavily on them from a leadership standpoint to help, kind of set a good example for the younger guys. And they take that seriously, and it's awesome to see.
Oh, for sure. No, yeah, it's great. You just know that those conversations are tough. Like, and it seems like you're having a lot of those conversations, like as you go to talk to guys, and like, are you pretty intentional about your talks? Like, do you get around during practice? Is it something maybe during bus rides? Like, how do you structure maybe these communication conversations that you're having with guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of everything, whether it be a late night text the kid will send, hey coach, what do I need to do to get more at bats? And then, the next day of practice during BP, I'll float around and just, try to engage with each kid and, just see how they're doing. Right. Because they got a lot of shit on their minds. Right.
Sure.
So, but if it's a situation where a kid, he needs feedback on what he needs to do to get more reps, we'll just kind of talk to him and say, and just kind of, be blunt, but at the same time, like, we remind them this is a team. Like, 9 guys play at a time, but if we're going to make a deep postseason run, that's the goal every year. If we're going to be able to accomplish that, it's going to take everybody. So, no matter what role or no matter what scenario, we're going to need you. Just be ready, and and have the confidence when that opportunity comes. So, yeah, we have those conversations, and it's funny you said it. This week there's a senior who, we had to pull him out of the lineup just because, the strikeouts were really piling up. I mean, it's kind of going into a slump that we really haven't seen out of him. And as a coach, it keeps you up at night, because this is a kid who's bled and sweat for this program over the last 4 years. And, we got to make the tough decision to kind of sit him down his last week of high school baseball. And, that's tough. So, but, these kids, they know that, we as coaches, we care about them as individuals. And, I think that's the number one thing you got to do is prove to these kids that, we're there for them, not just to win games. Like that's a side thing. We're going to win games, but, you need to know that once you get your diploma, you now have a friend. I'm no longer a coach. I'm now a friend, a lifelong friend you can call for anything, a job reference, whatever it is. We just need them to know that they care, or that we care about them.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, it's just like, how do you prove that? Like, I think coaches hear it a lot. So like maybe a couple like tidbits of how you prove that you do care.
Yeah, just kind of, leading by example and just showing them, the time commitment that we all put in, whether it be the after practice, extra reps that a kid wants, or, having, so at our school, we do a lot of our seniors, the last month of school, they're out of school. They're doing what's called a senior comp project, where it's basically they do an internship somewhere. So, over every year I have 1 or 2 kids, kind of help me out, with either the venture fund or with Pando or whatever it is. And just showing them that, there's more to life than just baseball. And I can always be counted on, by them if they need anything outside of baseball. And, just kind of like I said, kind of leading by example and just showing them that, along with their parents, we're going to be right there to help them through the maturity process and getting them to where they want to be.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just thinking, and then like, could you I just it's is it something like as you came into that, is that something that's also your mentor? Like when you, like I said, when you took over and he was teaching you a
Yep.
lot of things about like what to even say. Is that something that he passed down on to you as well, or is that something that was always been a part of you? And
Oh yeah, a little bit from him, but I go back to my college coach, a guy named Chris Calciano. I played at Westchester University, and I transferred in there. And, he recruited me a little bit out of high school, but I ended up going to school in Tennessee, and then lasted a semester there. It was culture shock. Knew I needed to get out of there, and so I called him, and he's like, "Yeah, you got a spot." So when I came in there, it just happened at the same time. I had some family issues going on, and he showed me right away that it's more than just baseball. And he met with me. He answered the call anytime I called him, just to kind of, he was like my therapist, if you will. So he got me through a really, really tough situation. And at the same time, made me a better baseball player, made me a better teammate, made me a better, person in general. And I think that has helped get me to where I am. And I always use the lessons that he taught me to be a better father, be a better coach, be a better husband. So, and then David Miller was my predecessor at Penn Charter. And, he's a guy who played, professional ball. He's a first round pick. And it just, picking his brain about how to handle certain situations. Like a few years ago, we were playing we played a scrimmage over in New Jersey. So when you go over to Jersey, it becomes like a scrimmage. So I remember I had a freshman who was like, I'm going to leave him out of the lineup today. And when I get there, the other coach is like, hey, let's make this a scrimmage. I'm like, great. So I put this kid in batting 10th, just to get him in the lineup. His first at bat, first pitch of his high school career, a Kentucky commit hits him in the face with a 93-mile-per-hour fastball.
Oh my!
And in that moment, I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? I'm blaming myself. And fortunately, the kid was fine. But that night, I called Dave because I remember he told me his first year of pro ball, he's with the Indians. Bartolo Colon hits him in the face with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball. And he says, Justin, as soon as that swelling goes down, you get that kid in the batting cage now, like right away, just to kind of get him back on the horse, right? And so just little things I can learn from every coach that I've worked for, just little life lessons or little coaching strategies and tidbits. It's, I try to take a little piece from everybody.
Oh, that's cool. Man, be at Westchester. You part of any of the World Series teams?
Oh God, no. So it's just the backstory there. So Coach Calciano, he took over in I think 2000. So prior to that, they were a Division I school.
Okay.
And I might butcher the year, but 97, 98, they went like 4-56 or something terrible. So they dropped down to D2, and then Coach Calciano came in. So his first class was, our class. That first year we win 30 games. School had never done that. We win 35 the next game. We go to, we make it to regionals and lose in the last game before the College World Series. And so just every year, we finished top 5, top 10 in the country. And it was all due to him. But so the point of that is that was 2005 was my senior year. So the next year they go to the College World Series, and then they end up winning it, I think, in 12 and then again in 17. So yeah, I'm a little older than those guys, but as an alum, you're super proud.
Oh, that's right. It was pretty recent. Yeah. That's right. Because Jad's there.
Yeah. And I got to know Jad, and it was awesome when he was down the road at certainly Westchester and then Delaware for a little bit. But my college roommate and second baseman Michael LaRosa is now the head coach at Westchester. So still have ties to the program, and it's nice to to see their success. So, but yeah, Jad, I mean, the job he was able to do in such a short time, especially at a school like that, a state school where he probably wasn't making a lot of money. So when he wins one national championship, you think, okay, this is a stepping stone. He's going for a Power 5 job, and he stays and wins another one. I mean, that just, I think, speaks to his character. And I know he was a guest on your show, and he's just a phenomenal guy, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He is, I'm sure it's just a matter of time down there, South Alabama.
Really unassuming guy too. Like if you go to his games, he's as laid back on the bench as he is just having a conversation, and I think, that kind of rubs off on his players. And I think there's a little truth to a team absorbing their coach's personality, and they played loose, but they were professional at the same time, and
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big reasons why they were able to, win 2 national championships. A school from a cold weather school, it's tough to do.
Yeah, for sure. And then just, I think it speaks to the recruiting aspect. It speaks to just, him able to develop people. But yeah, like, I forget how he mentioned it. He talked about just basically like, just doing your job, like just do it. Like he just keeps it real simple. Where like, like you don't make it like this big to do, like just do the right thing, and it was just some simple thing where like, I think that where you can keep it simple and that you get massive clarity.
Yeah.
It's relaxing. Good
point. It's
pretty cool.
Yeah. Because when you try to overcomplicate things, that's when the message can get lost or confusion can set in. So no, I think you raise a really good point. Like, just keep things simple and it can offer that clarity.
Yeah. When they, like you said, then they can stay relaxed and play loose, because they understand, are fully clear on what to do. Yeah. Cause he definitely does the unassuming part of it, and it's just super cool, man. It was but yeah, you're right, man. Just for them to go win 2 there and what they've done, and this is awesome. Yeah, Westchester. Getting guys that like part of that, and you're part of this with being a high school coach and just helping guys get educated, on the different types of levels that there are. When you think of like a Westchester and you're looking at basically the best fit for a kid, like what kind of conversations are you having with guys about those like different levels and trying to find the best fit?
Yeah, that's the challenge of coaching at a high academic school like Penn Charter, where, every kid, if they weren't playing baseball, they're going to apply to, they're going to look at Ivies, they're going to look at Patriot Leagues, they're going to look at the high academic D3s. But when they want to play baseball at those schools, that makes it tougher. And so this sounds cliche, but it's all about finding the right fit. And especially now with a transfer portal that's already packed to the gills, you have to rely on, as a coach, we tell kids, learn from not only your mistakes, but learn from others' mistakes. And we can apply that to recruiting where, for every success story of a kid finding his dream school and going on to have this great career, there's 10 kids who are at the wrong school. Yeah. And, we're seeing it now where, former teammates of theirs have gone to a school and then they're in the portal. So that's the challenge, helping families kind of navigate that. And I want to give you kudos because, coaching, obviously running travel ball and then coaching at the high school level, like I've done at the same time, I've seen a crowbar wedged in between travel programs and the high school coaches.
Sure.
And, meeting you over the last 2 or 3 years, it's been a breath of fresh air because you've closed that gap. Like, you and I've had conversations, whether it be about, we have a mutual player and, you set up a college call, you'll keep me in the loop and vice versa. And I think that's been great. But that's rare. And, I hope you had that same relationship with a lot of coaches. And I assume you do because of your style, but it's rare around here. And I don't know if the new recruiting, I was talking about this the other day with a coach, but I don't know if the new recruiting rules might help that because it might put more of an emphasis on high school ball. And listen, I'm a realist to think that high school ball from a recruiting standpoint is secondary because it's easier for college coaches to go to a central location and recruit for a weekend. Not a lot of schools, it's kind of rare, but it does happen. We get guys out to college coaches out to a Tuesday game, but for the most part, they're not getting out to see high school games in season. So, bless you. So I think the high school, the importance of a high school game has diminished over the years. But at the same time, as high school coaches, we're with the kids 3 hours a day for 6 days a week for 3 months, right? So, we know about the makeup, the work ethic, what kind of teammate is he. So, I want to give you a shout out for, bridging that gap because, I've seen it a lot where I'll approach one of my kids and say, hey, this school reached out. Are you interested? and him say, well, you got to talk to my travel ball coach because, he doesn't think it's a good fit or whatever it is, or my travel ball coach is handling all that. And I'm like, hey, fine, but you got to lean on your resources in life.
Absolutely.
So it's, like I said, awesome job by you and being able to kind of bridge that gap. And I think it's going back in that right direction, but not as fast as it should.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just hard to like guys, and it's even during their season. You know what I mean? You think about like the high school seasons, those guys are playing at the same time. Right. And like you said, they got to win. Like, and they're probably game planning to win.
Yep.
But again, they have that's why they have a big more guys on staff, and then one guy can maybe recruit. But like, still, like that guy's still probably teaching somebody something and might be struggling. Like that's important. So like I'm saying, it's understandable that the summer just became. It's just much easier to recruit. Like, and it's just much different. So, and that's where the game is off of like how my perspective now, like the game has changed a lot, where the game also is offered different situations. Like where 30 years ago, like you just had to be a high school coach. Like that was the gig, where now there's opportunities all over the game. Like look at your company, Pando. Like that's technically like a baseball, job, you know what I mean? So like the game has grown so much where it can offer us not just in the traditional sense of the coach, which I feel is tremendous. Like, so I have a great friend, Mark Shosh from Clear Spring, and like he put it, where it's like you coach a high school team and run a program to teach those values and the sense of community and get them to play for that. And then for the travel side or the summer ball side is a matter of the recruiting and the playing at a high level, really getting really competitive and seeing how really good you can be and surrounding yourself by like great players so then you can get better. And then you have the recruiting piece of it as well. But like, that's really from the coaching side of me was like, like that's where it was about. So for me, like I go into the travel, like, well, like now, like I'm going to try to marry all of this. Like I want to bring in my sense of values and what we try to do to build that, like, you're going to still play for something bigger than yourself. Cause that always plays. Like we always know that person, like that always plays no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like playing for something more than myself, like any kind of situation, that always plays. So if we can marry that and get you guys surrounded by good people and still recruit it up and then bring, like you said, bring all the resources that we can, like I'm, and those are lessons that you want to teach your kids, but
absolutely. And it just helps, I think having a good relationship with travel ball coaches, for me, it makes my job and the travel ball coach's job so much easier. And it helps the family. We can't lose sight of the fact that it's the kid and family, who we're working for. And we have to have their best interest at heart. So, just being able to show a kid, I think in that process, it teaches the kid how to be a better communicator where, like if you and I are talking about a mutual player, if he says, hey, or if I say, hey, I have a call with, you should call Coach so-and-so at this school tonight at 8:00, but you need to let Trey know, or I'll let Trey know, but make sure you tell him too, or whatever it is. That way we're all on the same page. And, it takes a village. So, but I just think, it's over the years, it's been, like I said, a crowbar just wedged in between all that. And it's totally unnecessary.
It is. I think there's a lot of ego playing into it as well. There's so much of that, like, I'm like, this ain't what this is about, it's about that kid, you know what I mean? And I think that's where, for me, it's very easy. Like, just be like that. These guys are about kids and they're about something else.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just what it is, whatever it is. Like, that's fine. Again, but I'm just not on that train. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. It's about it's about continuing to spread that message. It's about continuing to do that, and find those guys, because I think it just benefits the player. And I think at the end of the day, like, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find best fits for people. And at the end of the day, like, well, this kid has those communication skills. This kid's had a good team around him. Like, that's a better investment than this kid over here who doesn't, you know what I mean? And there, it's going to be the finest thing that's going to say yes or no to a kid in a program.
You're absolutely right. And, just seeing the work that you've done with US Elite, like you can tell that there's a passion and a pride in what you're doing, especially in the recruiting side where, when you place a kid at a good school, it's not like you place a kid and like you never talk to him again. Like you value that lifelong relationship, and it goes back to finding that right fit for a kid. So, and unfortunately, a lot of places and programs don't do it that way. And some do. So I don't want to, with a broad brush, but it's just as you've seen where that travel ball scene is going, where it's a money grab for a lot of venues and hosts, and it doesn't teach high school kids how to finish games, right? If there's an hour 50 time limit, like what pressure do you have to to finish this game or put a team away or whatever it is? So but at the same time, kids need to realize that the travel ball coaches are a tremendous resource that they need to be leaned on, especially when it comes to recruiting, because that time of year they're talking to the college coaches. They know the college coaches' needs. So, but finding that good balance, it's key.
Amen. Absolutely. So how much? So when you guys go away then for the summer, you kind of stay away. You kind of got out. And will you have much fall and will you have much fall stuff and then your winter training and things like that before the spring gets rolling around? Like, what does it look like as you guys come back to school?
Yeah, no. So yeah, like I said, this is my first, so I had a travel team and they were all 2023. So, they're all graduating, and this will be my first summer off in about 9 years. And that's intentional. I'm excited about it. My wife,
I'm sure you are.
Yeah. My wife is super excited about it. Not having to get up at, 6 a.m. on a Saturday to drive to North Jersey or whatever it is. But what I like about it's kind of a gift and curse at a school like Penn Charter. So because it's a small student body, we're not allowed to do any fall ball just because half my team plays football, cross country, whatever it is. I like that. I want them to play multiple sports. I want them to get, be open to other coaching styles and philosophies, and it forces especially pitchers to put the glove down, put the ball down for a little bit, rest the arm. And then we'll pick up, right before Christmas, we'll get together. So like once or twice a week, just to kind of get in the batting cage somewhere. But for the most part, a lot of kids, they play basketball, wrestle. So, if it's a situation where a kid can't get to a winter workout, and if he's a pitcher, we'll give him a winter throwing program, or, just kind of give him a little guideline to get them through their off season. And then, we pick up second week of February is when we start back for the spring. And again, that's the luxury of being a private school. The state schools, they start a little later.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of our year. And, but at the same time, it's all about, being, staying in communication with the kids, especially the kids that are playing other sports, and just saying, hey, season's 6 months away, just make sure you're getting bigger, faster, stronger. You're not throwing too much. You're not, your inbox is getting flooded with invites to college camps and winter showcases, and, just keep me posted, because the last thing I want a kid to do is go to a December showcase and throw as hard as he can and hurt himself. Right.
Yeah.
So and the kids are great about it. They know when to say no, which is awesome. But they know, like, if there's an event that they think they need to go to and get in front of a college coach, we'll kind of help map it out for them. So that's kind of the, that's part of the job that I enjoy, helping them get through that process. And that's what you do. It's awesome. So, that's kind of our year in a nutshell.
Cool. And then, so you could probably, will like weight training or anything become part of that? Like, will you guys do some certain things like that during the off season, or is that part of just what you do like in December?
It's kind of, we picked that up later, and just because, our school, out of season sports, getting access to the gym, isn't as easy as in season. And, geographically where we are, a lot of our baseball only players, they're going to their outside facilities, and, they're in there every day, and, and that's great. Like, I wouldn't want to disrupt that. But then, once the season starts to, is in the, a few months away, we'll get together and get with our strength coach and tell them, one, keep them updated of where they at. They'll do some baseline testing, and then they'll their team, their staff will lay out kind of their plans for the year. And what I love about them is, they realize, baseball players aren't the same as football or basketball players. Like, our strength coach, he works closely with Zach DeCont from TCU, who's one of the best in the business, and adopts a lot of his philosophies, and especially in season, it's phenomenal. Where I send him my lineups, 2 days before, probable pitchers, and he can kind of tailor the workouts, for those kids. That way, everything's done in safety, but at the same time, they're keeping their strength in season, and it kind of mimics it very similar to a college program.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was just wondering, and it's just always great to hear, like, even just the real conversation of, like, just the challenges that every school is. Every school has different things, and like you said, you're a smaller school. We're not doing this because we, like, those are real things that, either as guys, like, whatever they're feeling about that situation, where it's just a normal thing, because here you are, like, very prestigious, good program that's put out multiple kids at very high levels, and you're not having fall. Like, you don't have it. Like, it's just not part of what your school does, and it's like, but yeah, most of the kids, you think about those great players, those guys are taking care of their arms, or they're taking care of their playing, like you said, or they're at the facility, and you're trusting that those things are happening. And then you start up in December, and that's still earlier than, like you said,
right.
Most public schools can even do. And, that's still plenty. It's still, you're taking December, January, February, March, April, May, you were still with them half the year.
It's so funny that like, there are times where, by Thanksgiving or whatever it is, I'll see on social media, some local schools, they're doing full team workouts, indoor workouts at a facility somewhere. And then, I'll get a little jealous, a little FOMO going on. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Let these kids focus on their winter sports. Let them get their grades up, whatever it is. Our season's long enough. And, it'll be here before we know it. So it's funny. I find myself kind of waffling on that during the
I'm sure you do. Easy to do. To do.
Thinking like,
but also, I think what you mentioned was important, was like the little texts that come out, the daily communication, or like, hey, how's it going? Because I find myself like that. Like, I purposely, like, we go real quiet during the high school, and I don't want any distraction. I don't want to, like, it's super important that you need to play for a banner on the wall. Like, it is super important. But like, it's still a matter of, like, just checking in, like, hey man, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. If you need anything, let me know, just those kind of things. That I think when you said that, like, that was the nail on the head of, like, just kind of keeping a pulse on everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, say, hey, how you doing? And, we'll have a conversation going, and I'll say, hey, season's 5 months away. Let's, make sure, if you're not already in the gym, get in the gym. If you need a recommendation on a speed coach, let's shave off a tenth, a second of your 60, whatever it is. It just at the same time, sprinkle in some kind of expectations for them. Like, hey, you're a guy, we think is going to throw 40 innings for us. Just make sure you're ready for that. So
absolutely.
Just kind of being having an open door policy, 365 for them. They can reach out whenever they want, and just kind of being there for them. And I think that resonates with them and the family. And it just helps breed a better baseball player, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about, like, the expectations that you said. There's such a high academic school. Do you find yourself, like, having to, let's say a kid needs a study, or like they're struggling in school, like, where, like, you got to, like, take a pause, or, like, you got to hold study halls, or, like, how has that impacted what you do in your program?
Yeah. No, it happens a lot. There's one, basically a student, she's a tutor that the school has, and she works with a lot of our players, and, she's been there forever. And it's funny, she has helped so many young men, young baseball players get through, adjust to Penn Charter, because it's a school it's K through 12, but a lot of our players, they'll come in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, And it's an adjustment. If you're coming from a public school or a small Catholic grade school, there's a learning curve. There's an adjustment period, and she's phenomenal as far as working with players, throughout their career. But the kids know, academics come first. So they're great as far as keeping us, in communication with, hey, coach, I'm going to be late to practice. I'm finishing an exam or whatever it is. And that's great because they know if, they don't get the grades they're not getting on the field. And, from the college admissions standpoint, it's like some of the schools that they want to play at, everybody's got a 3.8 or 4.0 going in. Right? So, the talent pool is so deep and so strong that they know that doesn't matter how hard they throw, if they don't have the grades to get in, it's not going to really get them over the hump.
That's a great point.
Yeah. But it's funny. It's like, these kids, they're, I don't want to paint them as though they're all, rocket scientists. Yeah, we have kids that are, we have kids that are taking college level math as juniors, right? But we have kids who they need that academic support all 4 years, and but you wouldn't know it, once they're in the dugout. Like they're all they're tight knit. They all come from different walks of life, socioeconomic backgrounds. We have rich kids, we have middle class kids, we have poor kids. It's a great mix, and once they throw the pinstripes on, like you wouldn't know that just by hanging out with them. So that's what makes the place pretty special.
How do you do that? Like, do you do anything spectacular, anything special to bring your team together? Or is that mostly about the school? You're saying?
I think the school does a phenomenal job with that. Us as a team, we'll do some like team building events and just kind of like little things here and there. But for the most part, the school does a great job of kind of preaching that the equity side of it and treating everybody, with respect and being equitable in everything you do. But for us as a team, we'll do like, we'll spend a Saturday doing like, this year we had to paint our batting cage, our outdoor cages. I was like, hey, we're not practicing Saturday, bring some paintbrushes, bring some, we'll do some manual labor, like fun stuff like that, but it's a great mix of kids, and like I said, from all walks of life, and you can see them, and again, geographically, we have kids from Jersey, we have kids from an hour north of the city, we have kids from an hour south of the city, so all over the place in the greater Philadelphia area, from different neighborhoods, and once they're together, they have their neighborhood friends, but then they have this lifelong brotherhood.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just, and sometimes, I think it's just part of it. Like I said, part of the school, or like how you can do with the program. How you're doing those kind of things. You think about the tradition that you have. Like how have you been able to continue to build on the tradition at William Penn?
Yeah, just kind of letting them know from day one that you're putting on a jersey that has been worn by countless really, really good players and great young men. And the school itself, predates the formation of the country. And, you can feel that tradition just, organically around campus. But from a baseball side, some of the great players that came through, they know that they're picking up a torch, but at the same time, they're leaving their mark on their legacy on this program. So, and I don't think that's lost on them. And at the same time, our alumni, our players, we like to stay in touch with them, and whether it be, them sending a video message like to the team, or, our hitting coach this year he was part of our 2017 team that was top 10 in the country and had 12 kids going to play college ball, and, 4 guys playing professionally. And, he was our center, or he was our shortstop on that team, and he's coaching now. And, just kind of reminding them, like, listen, this is your program. It's not ours as coaches. It's yours. You have a responsibility to, play to your best, your ability, but at the same time, represent the pinstripes with the utmost respect they deserve. And you're representing your family at the same time. So, like I said, that's not lost on them. And, but you're just giving them those reminders of the tradition and the guys who came before them. I think that inspires them.
How do you like? Because of course, like you said, painting the picture of different things, like at such a traditional school, like you said, it's such a prestigious place. Like, how are you able to keep kids like people talk about, like keep them hungry? You know,
Yeah,
giving them an edge, keeping that competitive, that fire. Like, how are you able to build that into that?
it's not easy, and if I had the perfect answer, I'd give it. I'm always kind of tinkering with that.
Yeah.
Like every year, like you want to be able to instill some of your coaches, personalities on the team, but at the same time, like there are kids who come from upper class neighborhoods, or kids who've never done manual labor in their life, right?
Sure. Sure.
But so how do you motivate everybody? So it's kind of getting them to understand the common goal, right? That we're all here to win and get to the next level. But we tell them that they can't do it on their own. Like, it's a failure sport. Failure is going to find you whether you like it or not. It's coming. So if you're going through a hitting slump, you're not going to be able to figure that shit out on your own. Lean on your brothers, lean on your teammates, lean on your coaches who've all been there before. Just helping them kind of get out of their own way sometimes. That helps with the mental side of it. But just kind of, letting them know that, if we're playing against a team that has an extra chirpy dugout, like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't let them get in your heads. Like, we're going to control this game. They're not going to affect anything that we do. And if you can't handle this, like, what are you going to do if you want to play at a Power 5 and you're playing on a Friday night with, 10,000 people there yelling at you? So it's tough. Like, I'm always trying to learn, new ways to kind of keep them hungry. Like you said, a big thing that has worked for us is because, like I said, going back to the whole travel ball thing, where travel ball is king. I get it when it comes to recruiting and getting looks. We tell kids, like, tell me who the perfect game national champion, 16U national champion was 3 years ago. They're like, I don't freaking know. Tell me who the, PBR champion was in 2020 at the 15U level. Like, I don't know. Like, tell me who the state championship was, or the state champion was 2 years ago. And they can rattle that off. And I'm like, you're playing for something bigger than yourself, right? You're playing for something that is going to live on, in the program's, tradition forever. So, that resonates with them a little bit. So finding that good balance where, hey, you give me your heart for this next 3 months, and you'll walk as champions forever. And in the summertime, now it's ready to have some fun, ball out. Now you're going to have some eyeballs on you, and now you're prepared to do that. And now your travel ball coaches are going to hold you to a high standard when it comes to reaching out to coaches. So like I said, it takes a village, and we just play a small part in that. But it's a role that I take pride in.
Coach Hanley just giving us some great stuff. Really just enjoy the conversation. So going from his culture, open door policies, the way he's communicating, way he's trying to help guys into school, and really then again how he's being realistic about the high school player and the analytics that he does know, but putting into and like what's reality for their program, how he's just so in tune with the culture at his own school. And I think that's a great perspective to have, because of course we want to build our own culture and we want to do these things in our program, but to also be in touch with what's the reality of the entire school. What are the realities of the school and the culture of the school, and then trying to marry those two together, where he's having the guys go to games. And I've heard that from multiple coaches where, again, trying to build culture and trying to get guys together, go to the games, go to the other, support the other athletes, be okay and support the other players when they're at their other athletic events, when they're playing other sports. Heard that multiple times from great coaches like Coach Hanley. So, Coach, I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys for hanging on with us, supporting us. That's why we're doing this. This is just to continue to grow the game and continue to help us all, because Coach Hanley getting help from him, and learning from him, and that's what this is all about. I just loved how he communicates. It's just great to see guys that, they're not in education every day. This is a business guy who's, he's in analytics and helping professional baseball, and just to come back with that perspective, great to learn. Those guys are going to, we're all going to talk a certain way in their language, and how he kind of goes about his business is really beneficial for us all to hear. And you watch those guys play, and they play at a high level, and they've always have some really good players, and really great to see. I saw firsthand this year. So awesome to see you, Coach Hanley. Really appreciate you. And again, appreciate all you guys. Until next time, keep getting better.